Still blue, I thought boys knew, don't be surprised. Tell them boys about taste and pride. We ride for each other while them other boys hide. And if you ain't down, then don't step aside.
Houston, Texas, home of the Texas. Houston, Texas, home of the Texas. I'm from Houston, Texas, home of the Texas. Set it on my arm, Houston on my back. I'm from Houston, Texas, home of the Texas.
Good morning, Bucknutters. It's Tuesday, December 16th, 2014. I'm Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and Change. Today, I'm going to talk primarily about Tom Herman, offensive coordinator at Ohio State, who has reportedly taken the head coaching job at Houston, so he will lead the Cougars. I'm going to give my opinion on that, and then we'll be joined by Alex Gleitman as well. Might note that I have not listened to Alex's opinions as yet because I wanted mine to be purely my own, so if we contradict or double up, it's all truth. 2 programming notes for the day. Very cool and interesting piece coming up this morning by Dave Biddle on the quarterback situation for next season. As of right now, Ohio State is ticketed to have 6 quarterbacks on the roster. How does that break down? Where does Dave see that going? And also, we have an offensive coordinator hot board coming up, meaning who could replace Tom Herman. Several names of what we're hearing, several suggestions and such. That will be up shortly as well. But make sure to look for Dave's piece on the quarterbacks coming up later this morning around 10 a.m. But coming up here, my feelings on Tom Herman's exit, followed by Alex Gleitman. The story broke yesterday, early morning. Tom Herman headed to Houston to be the head coach of the Cougars. Can't say we were surprised about this. Every year we do these preseason picks on what we expect to happen for the year, and one of the questions is always which person on the Ohio State staff do we expect to get a head coaching gig first. Tom Herman's always the name that came up. When you sit back and look at the situation, this is really a no-brainer on both sides for Herman and the University of Houston. It has been confirmed by the Houston Chronicle, by the way, from a source inside the Houston program, so this is a go. There's no reason why he shouldn't leave now, as much as we would love for him to be at Ohio State. The iron is hot. Anybody whose reputation is going to be developing 3 quarterbacks, the last of which won the Big Ten championship in convincing fashion in his first start, your star is on the rise. I think it also helps that he's under Urban Meyer. You always get the reputation of the guy you came under last when you become a head coach, so he will be introduced to the masses at Houston as Urban Meyer's consigliere, which will help his early juice there, thanks to Herb. The Houston opportunity itself is a really, really good one. They're in a new stadium. They just rebuilt it. It's a winnable conference, one that many thought they'd have a chance to win this year, which is one of the reasons Tony Levine was fired. He was fired with a winning record. His predecessors are Kevin Sumlin and Art Broyles, and we saw what they've gone on to do. So it's clear this is a lily pad job that people keep an eye on. Talk about Herman's Texas ties. He did attend college in California, but his first 10 years in coaching were spent at Texas schools recruiting Texas. We've seen the success he's had there with J.T. Barrett et al. I also took a look at Houston's schedule, and I could see Herman being a 2-year guy there if he gets things in order. They next year will play at Louisville and host Vanderbilt. Then they will open the 2016 season versus Oklahoma in Houston at Reliant Stadium. That's going to be a chance for him to get that marquee win. And I could see Tom Herman as a head coach at one of the biggies within the next 3 years. So while I'm upset to see him go, there were times when I was frustrated by the game plan. But this year in the biggest stages, Michigan State on the road and the Big Ten championship game, I thought he was at his best. Houston got a good hire. Now it's on Herb to get someone to replace him and keep this train rolling. Here's Alex Gleitman's thoughts on the whole deal.
Good morning, Bucknutters. Alex Gleitman here. Obviously, the big news yesterday breaking was the news that Tom Herman, the Ohio State offense coordinator, is in negotiations with the Houston Cougars to become their next head coach. This should not be a surprising move. We've hinted at it on Bucknuts for a while now. Herman really wanted to be a head coach. SMU was a great opportunity. Chad Morris got that job. But another Lone Star State school in Houston comes in and gets the guy known as Texas Tom. He'll recruit that state very well. That program was already 7-5 this year, so it's not like he's working with like an SMU team that's 0-12 from scratch. So congrats to Tom Herman, but that leaves Ohio State with a void on their coaching staff. I think the most likely move for the Buckeyes is to move Ed Warner from co-offensive coordinator to the lead offensive coordinator position and hire a quarterbacks coach and potentially a co-offensive coordinator to work with Warner. Regardless, either way, the Buckeyes are going to have to fill that quarterback coach, whether that guy calls the plays or whether he kind of sits backseat to Ed Warner or someone like Stan Drayton that's already on the staff. One name that I think a lot of people are not talking about right now is Florida offensive coordinator Kurt Roper. This was Roper's first year at Florida, and obviously Will Muschamp's team wasn't very good, so I think it's hard to judge Roper on this year, but he did an outstanding job for about 6 or 7 years at Duke prior to this, under Dave Cutcliffe, developing some nice offensives there for the Blue Devils, and has had a nice career. A couple other names that we're looking at in terms of the mix: Tim Beck from Nebraska runs a very similar offense. He's from Ohio. He coaches quarterbacks. That could be someone to look at. Major Applewhite, there's reports that he's going to join Herman down at Houston, but he's someone who was up at Ohio State camp in the preseason. Certainly, at least a colleague of Urban Meyer, former Texas quarterback, knows how to coach the quarterback position. One of the hotter names around, Lincoln Riley from East Carolina, has one of the more explosive offenses in college football this year and could be that kind of next up-and-comer in the spread offense. Doug Meacham, TCU co-offensive coordinator, he was on the list for a lot of awards this year, got a lot of notoriety for that offense that Trevon Boykin led, and he could be looking for the next step up, and that may not be a head coaching position. That might be to prove his worth at a Power 5 school. Well, he's at a Power 5 school, but proving it like a bigger program like an Ohio State. Mike Norvell from Arizona State, another up-and-comer, one of the younger bright minds in the game, and someone that's had a lot of success the last 2 years at Florida State, at Arizona State. And then one name that a lot of other people aren't talking about is Darren Hinshaw at Cincinnati, formerly at Tennessee, a great recruiter. Someone down in Tennessee gave me this name as someone that they thought would be a good fit, along with Lincoln Riley. So those are the names I'm looking at. It will be interesting to see what Urban Meyer does. But we'll keep you updated on Bucknuts.com.
See, I told you it was and change. Hope you enjoyed that free 2 minutes or so. And a reminder, we got a great piece coming from Dave Biddle later this morning on the quarterback situation going forward, and we are working on an extensive offensive coordinator hot board to review who might replace Tom Herman in Columbus. Have a great day, Nutters.